What a morning. Look at this sunrise. Today we are walking along the world's longest uninterrupted waterfront path. It is Vancouver's #1 tourist destination and it's loved by locals alike. It is, of course, the Vancouver Seawall. 28 kilometers we're walking today, and this won't be my ordinary adventure video. This will be more of a relaxed walk along the water with me. So grab a coffee, grab your tea if it's the morning, grab a beer or wine if it's the evening. I'm Michael, the channel's DownieLive. Let's get it started. Now the seawall starts here at Canada Place, but the first building I need to tell you about is this one right here. The Port of Vancouver is one of the biggest and busiest in North America, and in fact, I'm standing at our cruise ship terminal right now where cruise ships will come in, but the rest of the space out here is an aerodrome. It's essentially an airport for seaplanes and helicopters. And based out of here is Harbour Air, North America's largest seaplane airline. So this building here is the Vancouver Harbour Control Center, known as Harbour Center. Because it's downtown, the control tower actually sits on top of a building, a skyscraper, so it can see air traffic coming from all directions, which actually makes it the world's tallest control tower at 142 meters. Pretty cool. Hello. Now I'm not going to show you every inch of the seawall. It's 28 kilometers long. That would take far too long, and I'm not going to describe in detail every single piece of art or historic landmark along the way. But I will give you the important overall historical facts that you need to know, as well as some interesting facts, just to give you an overview of what this experience is like, because I really recommend you come see it for yourself. But I will tell you about this piece here by Liz Mager. It's called the Light Shed. It's because it's representative of the structures or boat sheds that used to be here on the shore in the port, rather than the now condominiums behind it. And while it looks like it's made of wood, covered in mussels, it's actually aluminum. So one thing you will note, hang on, cut the music for a second. I want to point this out. We're going to be walking along the water for most of it and the seawall itself, but I want to turn our attention here for a second. We're surrounded by towers because we are downtown. The seawall runs around 3/4 of downtown. Woo! And everyone loves it. Look at that. But the one thing I want to mention is how quiet it is. We are downtown Vancouver, and all I can hear are Canada geese and some other birds from this park. And that guy who's cheering while he runs. You're never far from the seawall if you're downtown, but it's a good getaway from the city itself. Okay, let's keep going. Music back on. Now this is Cole Harbour, high density residential buildings, marinas, yachts, powerboats. But my choice would be, look at these cute little guys. Got these sweet houseboats. Morning. Morning. Cole Harbour is the last sort of civilization for the next 12 kilometers or so. So it's a good place to pull over, grab a coffee, whatever you want. It's a long walk through Stanley Park. There are a couple of cafes in there, but I'm gonna grab a coffee now, and we've got a long day ahead of us. Oh yeah, spring is here. Sometimes I see signs like this and I really wonder what happened that required a sign to say so. Like, I don't know if I've ever wanted to swim in a body of water less than this one. We're now entering the most famous part of the seawall, the 9-kilometer loop around Stanley Park, which is where the seawall started, but I'll get into that in a minute. I want to show you one of my favorite spots in here. Okay, the first one isn't so much my favorite as it is maybe just important. If you had a coffee in, I don't know, Cole Harbour 5 minutes ago, it's the public washrooms. Now this is a little island between Stanley Park and downtown Vancouver, and it's known as Dead Man's Island, and it's a Naval Reserve training facility. But look at this. The base is called the HMCS Discovery, but look at the logo. It's a disc over Y. Disc over Y. Now this viewpoint here is probably my favorite in the entire city. It's even better at night, obviously. One, because you're in Stanley Park where it's quiet and you just look over downtown Vancouver in the water. But number two is because of this. That's a cannon. This cannon was brought here originally to signal the end of the fishing period, which was Sunday night at 6 p.m. And then once that wasn't really needed anymore, it started to go off every night at 9 p.m. so that vessels in port and citizens alike could accurately set their chronometers. You know, their watches and clocks. So it's known as the 9 o'clock gun, and it fires every night at 9 o'clock. Check this out. So what's the deal with the seawall? Well, the story is that here, underneath the Lionsgate Bridge, it's the narrowest point in our harbor. And as the tide comes in and out, it goes past this point 4 times a day at 10 times the rate that it moves in the widest part of the harbor. And that was causing erosion in Stanley Park. And so originally the seawall was simply to prevent erosion. So construction on the seawall began in 1917. That's over 100 years ago. And the City of Vancouver Parks Board master stonemason James Cunningham oversaw the project until he retired, and even after that until his death in 1963. So he actually didn't get to see it complete because the seawall was opened in 1971. Even though it wasn't completed until 1980. It took 63 years to be built. Look at that. Even with the wall, it's eroding. Can you see the seal? It's a seal right there. Hi. And so just next to Siwash Rock on the seawall is a plaque in the rock here dedicated to James Cunningham for his lifetime's work on the seawall. And apparently, because he passed away before the seawall was complete, his ashes were actually buried and sealed somewhere in along the seawall. Thank you, James, for all the work on this. We love it. We love it. This wall just gets relentlessly beat up by high tide, so there's usually always still some small repairs to be done along the way. Now we know the seawall is a great place for both walkers and joggers and also cyclists, but that wasn't always the case. In fact, there used to be so many bicycle incidents hitting walkers that they actually banned bicycles completely. That was until they extended the pathway and gave the cyclists their own path to go on, and then they made it one way, so it's counterclockwise only. See, everyone's going the same way. Oh yeah, back out into the sun, onto the beach. This, if you don't already know, is Third Beach. It goes along the seawall here, and the next beach is Second Beach, and eventually English Bay Beach is First Beach, but you don't call it that, you just call it English Bay Beach. Very nice beach. So now we've come out of Stanley Park, we've come past the famous English Bay, and we've arrived at the Inukshuk. The rock structure is of the Inuit culture and traditionally represents a navigational aid or a landmark that you can use. And it was commissioned by the government of the Northwest Territories to be on display here in Vancouver for Expo 86, and was eventually gifted to the city of Vancouver because it kind of represents hospitality and friendship. From one rock structure to another, there's someone down here that's doing rock balancing. So now we're gonna keep walking along the seawall, past Sunset Beach, under the Burrard Street Bridge, back into sort of the city area, which is known as False Creek. And I don't know about you, but it's 2 o'clock right now and I'm starving, so we're gonna stop and get some lunch on the way because I started at 7 a.m. It's been 5 hours of walking. We're about halfway. I'm gonna point out, pretty sure I've earned this beer already, because I already have 23,584 steps. So cheers, but we're still halfway to go. That's amazing. Also, if you like the hat, it's the DownieLive edition of the Worth hat, and there are still a few available, with proceeds going to a counseling fund for mental health support for people who can't otherwise afford it. So, cool hat, great cause, can't lose. Cheers to that. Oh, thank you. Wow, just what I needed. This is gonna give me just enough calories to continue the other half of today's walk. All right, I'm feeling better. Now back to the seawall. But first, I want to talk about False Creek. Back in the day, we'll say the 1930s, 40s, 50s, it was very industrial. It was full of shipbuilding yards, sawmills, concrete factories, which one is still there. But the point is they had so many ships going in and out for all this industrial use that when they built the Granville Street Bridge in 1951, they built it to be taller than the tallest steamships of the day. Now, of course, things have really changed and it's residential and mostly just has marina sailboats and power boats. So the Granville Street Bridge really doesn't need to be this tall, but that's why it is that tall. And with the eventual disappearance of all the industrial areas along here, it allowed for the city to take back the land, put in the seawall, continue it, as well as a number of parks along the way here, and of course, high density residential as well. But it's made for this great combination of living and water. It's very enjoyable. Coco, you're adorable. Oh, hi. You like the camera, don't you? So one of the biggest problems with the seawall is that it's destroyed any of the natural shoreline that ever existed. So there's no longer any more natural habitat for wildlife. But they have tried to recreate sort of a shoreline or a tidal zone area for animals, but it hasn't really worked. This is Vancouver's newest piece of art. It's called The Proud Youth by Chen Wenling, and it's kind of meant to remind you to embrace your inner youth. Now, one of the things I like about the False Creek section is all the interesting art that they have. Like this piece, or this piece, or this piece, the Time Top, which is my favorite because it comes with its own comic strip right into the concrete here. But I've already done a video on this, so I'll link it right there. Let's keep going. It's clearly getting a lot busier right now, so it's obviously after work. And I may have underestimated the walk today because I'm going to have a huge blister on each foot. I can feel it. If you stay to the end of the video, maybe I'll show you. Maybe you want to see it, maybe you don't. We'll save that for the end. So this empty space here was the Plaza of Nations. That is BC Place Stadium. And at the end of the water over here, Falls Creek, is what was Science World, now the Telesphere of Science. And they're all remnants of the World's Fair that was held here in Vancouver for Expo 86. They're kind of the leftover, the legacy, along with the SkyTrain, which I talked about in last week's video. BC Place Stadium and Science World are iconic in the skyline of Vancouver. We get a lot of use out of them. Plaza of Nations, you can see here, it's a little rundown. This has actually since been turned into a casino and now looks like the casino has closed. This is all up for development to become high-rise residential like all of that is, and it will continue on. That's not good. And now that we've come around the bend at the end of Falls Creek and we're starting to come up the south side of Falls Creek, we're gonna come past Olympic Village, which just as much as Science World and BC Place were legacy structures left over from Expo 86, Olympic Village, obviously by the name, the Olympic Village was left over from the 2010 Winter Olympics, and this was used as the Athletes Village before being then turned into high-density residential. But the nice thing is, with the development here, is they have tried to start bringing in natural habitats back into the area. Let me show you. And this is Habitat Island, and it's doing exactly as it was designed to do. It is reclaiming habitats for local wildlife. So the creek that runs right in there is home to otters and a beaver, plus all the other birds that come to the area, and hopefully some sea wildlife as well. It sure is nice down here, but we gotta keep moving because we're starting to run out of daylight and we got a long way to go. Gosh. Walking along the south side is probably my favorite side because you actually get to look at downtown, and if you saw my video from 2 weeks ago, there's also the protected sight lines through to the mountains, so those are fun to look out for. Well, I think we could say the old shipyards that used to be here are replaced by marinas, and the old sawmills by skyscrapers. It's a very different skyline than it used to be, or shoreline. I mean, it's a big city and we're doing a long route, but things like this inner little lagoon thing here makes it so much longer. Like I literally, if I could walk the 25 meters to that, it would skip maybe close to a kilometer, come around. You gotta do what you gotta do. Keep the feet moving, one in front of the other. See, the power of editing made that look quick. That's where I was just standing. What was that, 6 seconds for you? 15 minutes for me. But how can I complain when this is my day? This has been my office window, if you will, today. So couldn't have picked a better day. Sun is close. We have probably 5 kilometers left. Let's get the pace up. Boy, these blisters are gonna be bad tonight. I like this section because you get to walk alongside the boat houses, floating homes. Anyways, I like to kind of pick out which one I think I would choose. I mean, these have to have the best views in the city, right? Like you are on the water. Well, here we are under the overly tall Granville Street Bridge again, just on the other side. But I'd like to point out that these 2 boats here, one's an aqua bus and the other is the Falls Creek Ferries. Either of them could have taken us across the water or the full length of Falls Creek for like $6 instead of us having to walk the full 28 kilometers of it. So I just want you to know, these are options along here if you don't feel like walking the entire thing. Now we're walking through the famous Granville Island Market. If you know, you know. I did make a video on this place here, so that's up there. We're gonna keep going. And if you keep walking around Granville Island, you actually go through an active marina / boat repair shop. I know it seems odd, but we're still on the path. I don't know if I knew there were so many marinas in town. Coming under the final bridge, the Burrard Bridge. Just up here is Vancouver Park, and it's the home stretch. Little boat launch overlooking Sunset Park, which is where we were about 6.5 hours ago. We can do it though, we can do it. I think one of my blisters just burst. I can't tell if it's more painful or less painful. At this point, I'm not stopping. I'm not stopping. My feet feel like they're on fire, and I'm afraid if I stop, I'll never make it. So we only have a few kilometers left. We only keep going. Keep going. This was a good idea. It's a beautiful day. We're now at Kits Beach. There's definitely something going on with the blister. It's gotten much worse. I'm absolutely walking with a limp at the moment. And there is 13 minutes until the sun sets. and we have maybe 1.5 kilometers to go. I'm gonna pick up the pace on my limp. We're gonna make it before sunset. If you're new to the channel, I'm Mike. It's called DownieLive, and I make Vancouver adventure videos. I will get traveling again once we can, but in the meantime, feel free to subscribe. Welcome. There's lots of old videos that you should check out, but also more coming up every Saturday. So nice to meet you, and if you're a long time, hey, good to see you again. And I'd like to point out that that is Stanley Park. We started our morning on the other side of it and around to downtown. So we have come all the way out, all the way back in and around. We're still going 12 hours later. And every step we've taken has been alongside the water, uninterrupted the whole time. Well, this looks like it's the end. It's not. It's about another 500 meters down this gravel path. Also, I didn't wear sunscreen today, so follow me on Instagram if you want to see how pink my face is tomorrow. It's small, still counts as the seawall. Uninterrupted still. This last little bit is up along some pretty expensive mansions with, as you can tell, a pretty fantastic view. The feet. Whew, this is it. I can see it. And that's it. That's the end of the world's longest uninterrupted waterfront path, the Vancouver Seawall. We did it from sunrise to sunset, 28 kilometers, just over 39,000 steps. I'm Michael, the channel's DownieLive. I don't know where I'm going next, but I know I want you with me because you're fantastic to have along this way. Yeah, I'm not walking home. I'm getting an Uber. Good night. Hi there. Oh, this might have been the hardest easy thing I've ever done. I'll be here for a while.